Let's talk about solutions. There is another guy. His name is Larry Lessig. He's running for president as a Democrat. You probably won't see him at next week's Democratic debate because they're just excluding him. But the sole focus of his campaign is campaign finance reform, and he told me he wants to be like Frodo and throw the ring into the volcano or whatever, and then he'll just like resign after they solve campaign finance. But anyway, one of his ideas is get rid of private funding of campaigns and have a public financing system where, so you would give voters a voucher. Everyone gets a voucher, and then you pick who you give it to. Dennis Kucinich, you think that would work?
Well, I think it's a good idea, first of all. I think that the present system, beginning with Buckley versus Vallejo, Citizens United, and the McCutcheon case, and others, have created kind of a political money arms race where candidacies and candidates in elections are often going to those who have the most money, and that's a tragedy for the country. I think the only way around the Supreme Court decisions that have been made would be a change in the Constitution that would say that all elections have to be funded with public money, and there's just that's where we are right now. The private money equals private control of the political system. The New York Times had a story, I think it was today, where I think it's 218 at the top.
We were talking about
that before I came in. Yeah. Well, that's noteworthy because it parallels a condition where the economy is rigged and money's accelerating to the top, particularly in the last 2 decades. And so the rich are getting richer because they have control of the political system as well, and they're rigging the tax laws and regulatory conditions in their favor. And but the American people are really going in the other direction in terms of what their aspirations are for the country. So this schism that exists really can only be addressed by going back to that seminal document, the Constitution, and looking for an amendment that would forbid the spending of private funds in U.S. elections. I don't know if we're going to get there soon. In the meantime, what we can do is the following. Number one, participate in supporting a candidate through the internet. And you can, whatever you can give, a small amount, doesn't matter, give something. Number two, using social media to support candidates because that doesn't cost any money or very minimal. Number three, creating fora and communities to bring people in to talk about campaigns and actually organizing and going door to door for a candidate. I mean, we still have our own ability to affect the outcome of elections, and sometimes when we read all about the Koch brothers and others who are giving billions of dollars into the political system over a period of time, we just think, wow, we can't do anything about it. That is not true. The biggest problem comes when we basically give up our own power as individuals to affect the outcome by saying, well, it just doesn't matter. I don't matter anymore. It's not true. Each person does matter, and you have to find your path to involvement until we can bring us all together to change our Constitution and get rid of the pay-to-play system.
Clay Aiken, what would that have, no call time, I mean, you tried to shun some of the telephone work, but not all of it, right? What would it have been like if you had not had that burden?
I did real close to all of it, shunning all of it. I mean, we ran a campaign at the end of the last month where I pretty much eliminated call time. We raised money throughout the summer.
So you have actually lived this post-Citizens United paradise.
Where we were actually in the... Now listen, there are other complications involved with that. People are so sick of politics that when they see a politician, it's not like they want to come and talk to you anymore. They loved me when I was singing. They don't like me now that I've got a D behind my name. But yes, I mean, I've always been a political fan, and I grew up admiring people like Terry Sanford, who actually did campaign buses and got on the bus and went around and saw people in the district or in the state and talked to people. I think you're accountable you're accountable when money is not involved to those folks who you're meeting at the state fair or the county fair, who are telling you what they want. Not only are you getting an opportunity to greet them and meet them, and it's like 750,000 people now in a district, which is probably a little too unwieldy, but when you're getting a chance to meet them and greet them and feeling like they actually are listening to the local issues that are important to you, you're accountable to them because you know exactly what they want. It's not, I lived a little bit of it when it came to being out in the district, but it didn't win for me. So we've got to do it. We've got to do it, unfortunately, this way until we can do it that way.
Can I add something very quickly? And that is that the sympathy I have for the plight that you were in. Most members of Congress, the minute they get into Washington, they head straight to the respective party headquarters and start dialing for dollars. What that does, let me tell you what one of the effects of it. One of the effects is that people then don't have time to participate in the debates, in the issues, to really go deeply and try to figure out national policy or international policy. And that's a casualty. That's a serious casualty of the present finance system. And members are good people, decent human beings who are trying to maintain this incredibly complicated life of two places to live and working sometimes thousands of miles away from home, and then you got to raise money to win an election, and the way the system is right now is it's dialing for dollars. And the reason.
So you're saying if I had won, I'd have to keep on doing call down?
Yeah, absolutely.
Except
for one thing.
Change at all.
Except for one thing, though. I had the benefit that I had because I raised money primarily on the internet is I didn't have to do that. Which is why they don't really know me too well over there.
Well, let's talk about the top conservative idea for campaign finance reform, which is just get rid of all the limits. Take the direction that the courts are going and just go there already, but with full disclosure so that the market knows where the money's coming from.
Well, that wouldn't help those folks in Spring Lake, North Carolina, who still don't have, so they can give me 20 cents instead of 10, is that what you're saying? It doesn't help the people who don't have the money to have a voice. It doesn't make their issues any more important at all. Nobody cares we still don't care about it.
Bill Burton?
No, I think that's the exact right point. This is the whole problem. What Congressman Kucinich says about members coming to Washington and they go and they sit on the phone and they dial for dollars. A casualty is that they're not participating in the debates for sure, but when they do participate, they're more informed by the opinions of people that they're calling for money than they are by the people who they should be talking to, which is just regular citizens in their districts, and getting their concerns. So if there's no limits, all you're going to do is spend your time calling people who can write the biggest check. And maybe that's just calling 10 people, because that's all you need at that point, right? You need to cultivate the relationships with the 10 richest people who can all write you a check for a huge sum.
There are a couple things that make me wonder, how much does money warp politics when you've got a few issues where it isn't actually money that is really powerful, like gun control, the NRA. Is the NRA powerful because it's throwing money at people, or is it the very vocal membership that it has? And the AARP on Social Security, they can mobilize vast numbers of people who will pick up the phone.
Well, the NRA's position on guns is not necessarily the same position as the majority of America. So it's obvious that their money is doing the talking for them. So is that the question?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily just their money, though. Gun manufacturers have a certain amount of cash that they can put into this, but it's that their membership is so vocal in exercise.
Does their membership even necessarily, does the vast majority of their membership even agree with these specific points?
They have a minority of people who are basically doing call time, only they're calling you, and they give the impression that there is widespread lack of support for gun control, for instance. So that's the conventional wisdom about how the NRA wields power. Congressman,
well, this is an important point, because take the NRA for example. When there's gun control or gun-related vote, members, particularly those in swing districts, are thinking long and hard about the vote they cast, because it may create a blowback where this group's going to go after them. And if you've been to the House of Representatives, you'll see that there's this, it's like a big gym, but the scoreboard, they have scoreboards on both sides with the votes, and then the largest board right behind the speaker's rostrum, and up above it contains the names of everybody in the Congress and a colored light, depending on how they vote, green, red, or no position, amber. And people are always looking at that board on a big vote and doing calculating, is this going to cost me? That's where we are right now. And any interest group, not just the NRA, but you go across the range of a dozen interest groups. People are doing those calculations and they're trying to figure out if they, how they, and our votes are affected by it. There's just no question about it.
It's fine to be calculating how it's going to affect you if it's going to affect you with voters, but not if it's going to affect you with attack ads from the NRA.
Yeah, but that's what the calculation is. And people, of course, you worry about how your constituents would view a certain vote. When I opposed the war in Iraq, people back home weren't particularly happy with it. But you occasionally have to take a vote that may cause people back home not to be happy. But I noticed from what I've seen is that occasionally when there's an interest group involved, and it's not just for their money, it's their organizational ability as well, which does relate to raising money at some point, people put that into the calculus. I mean, being a member of Congress is a privilege, and at the same time, it's really an opportunity to study human nature, and there's a lot of good people there, but the system is not a good system.